Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. UFC's back. All right. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the newest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. And yes, I know it has been a good minute coming, and it has been much ado about nothing until now. But at this point, I think we are close enough that we can safely say we're back. We officially go back to quote-unquote kind of normal as of this coming weekend. UFC 249, hopefully here. But before we get into all the shenanigans and all the shit talking, let's see who we've got at the round table this evening to get into it with. So, first and foremost, the freshest kid from Fishtown himself is here, ladies and gentlemen. Dry your panties. I know. Nick Devine, how you doing, buddy?
I'm just super excited that you just put Fresh's name in front of mine. That was awesome. I was like, all right, he's going to go to Fresh first. What's up, everybody? Long time no see. Can't wait to talk about the fights. And yeah, let's get to it.
Hell yes.
Glad to be here.
Thanks, sir. And then, of course, sitting across from him, we have got the freshest guest one could possibly ask for on a show, the one and only Fresh03. How you doing, sir?
Doing all right. I'm ready. Been reading about a couple of these fights. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. So,
There's some
I'm
interesting
excited
stuff.
to talk about a couple of these fights because there's one in particular that is just my style.
Yeah, there's a couple that I figure that we're going to talk about this evening that might be right up your alley. So I think we'll have some good ones to talk about. And then, as it were more often than not, across the octagon from myself, my Wednesday night homeboy, my combat brother from another mother here, the one and only Golf T Vapes. How you doing, brother?
Another lovely day to talk some shit, and it's this much closer to probably having to chase the dragon for the rest of our lives because 3 events in 7 days will probably never happen to us again.
That is absolutely true. There are a couple things on the horizon here that might come close, but we're gonna have to wait and see how things actually shake loose. So a little bit of a different kind of twist on what we've been doing recently here this evening. What we're gonna do, even though, like I said, this coming weekend is gonna be UFC 249. What we're actually gonna be talking about this evening is the to be determined yet named event that we will actually be seeing next Wednesday on May 13th. Now, before we get into that, we will have to give some folks a chance to turn in their late homework because we are generous like that. But the focus of this evening is going to be Wednesday night's card. The way that this is going to work out, to kind of give you guys a little bit of a heads up, last week rather, we gave you kind of our breakdown on this weekend's coming UFC 249. We'll let the late students turn theirs in later. So that this weekend we could give you our take on Wednesday's show. And what we're going to do for Wednesday evening's card is we're going to do a, let's see, how could we put this for lack of a non-copyrighted term, combat compatriot stream.
That's a good term.
We will be here, some of us coming and going, some of us might be here the whole time, some of us might not, but we will very much in a similar fashion to some other fight companion-esque streams that you may enjoy, be giving our takes and commentary, as it were, during this weekend's coming up. I'm not sure what they're even calling it, really. It's, as of right now, it's just the May 13th event. But we're going to give you our live commentary through whatever that could be.
They have named it.
Did they name it officially?
Yeah, it's UFC Fight Night 171.
Fight Night 171. Okay, so we will be giving you our live UFC Fight Night 171 commentary through that because it's actually a fairly early event since it's going to be on a Wednesday. They're kicking off prelims at 5 p.m. Central Time. So
yeah,
we should
be late for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should have some folks showing up a little late. Some folks might be later than others because kids and life happens, and we understand. But we're gonna try and stream that the majority of that fights for you folks. Obviously, we can't show you the fights. You will be able to watch along with us on your own devices of choice. We will just be giving you our live commentary during that broadcast, and then next Thursday, we will give you a little bit of a recap from Wednesday night's events and then give you our take for next weekend's UFC upcoming May 16th event. So that way everything will kind of fall into line here if it doesn't get screwed up by Backstreet Boys between now and then. So right. knock on wood, hopefully we're all right. We're in the clear. It looks like at this point the I's have been dotted, the T's have been crossed, the gloves have been bought in triplicate, masks are stocked up in quadruplicate, tests are aplenty, everyone has their own thing, everyone is, together but apart, as they say. I think we might get a 249.
They named the 16th, the one on the 16th is Fight Night 172, so they're just fight nighting it up.
Cranking them out. Okay, well that kind of makes sense because as of right now, the card that we've got for Wednesday night is definitely a fight night card. And we kind of talked about this a little bit when they first announced that we're getting 3 events in a row. Yes, we're getting 3 events in a row, but we're not getting 3 UFC 249s in a row. We're getting 3 events. We're still getting 43 fights in 8 days, which is fucking amazing. unto itself for any combat sports organization, let alone the caliber of some of these fights that we have got strung together here for the UFC. That's still a lot of fights, but you got to remember, one of them is a pay-per-view. Two of them we now have confirmed are fight nights. So set your expectations accordingly is what I'm saying. So before we get into the UFC Fight Night 171 / May 13th card, there are a little bit of news and recent events that I do want to talk about real quick. Couple of things. Excuse me. A couple of things that have been announced / slipped to some sources this week that are interesting and definitely noteworthy before we get too deep in the craziness here. And there is some craziness to be had this evening. The first one, Dana has officially confirmed that as of this Saturday, the UFC is officially back, and it is back on schedule. Coming as of the end of this month, the UFC is jumping right back onto the schedule they had up until the Backstreet Boys had put a halt on everything, and Fight Island came and then didn't came, and we've got all the craziness and the postponements and the talks and then the non-talks, and then so we've got it now. So what we've got officially going forward is we've got our May 9th UFC 249 card. We've got our May 13th UFC Fight Night 171 card. Then we have our May 16th UFC Fight Night 172 card. And then presumably the May 25th card will be, or 23rd, excuse me, would be the UFC Fight Night 173, I'm guessing, since they're following back in line, and that's not quite pay-per-view event again just yet. But Dana says officially, now that we're back, because at the very least, they've got Florida that they can work with until Nevada opens back up, where they've got the Apex and the Performance Institute, till California opens back up. They've got Tachi's Palace and everywhere else in California. So we're officially, according to Dana, back on track, barring anything happening, obviously, Backstreet related in the near future. You know, God forbid that happen. But as of right now, it looks like we're at least pointing towards getting back on some sense of normalcy, as much as normal is going to be from here on out. We're heading that direction, so we can at least take a little bit of a breath at that point. Interesting things moving forward with things getting back on schedule with the UFC. We did this week get confirmation. We knew it was coming. We just didn't know when. Now we do. We can set that date on the calendar with the going forward schedule. The June 6th UFC card, wherever it ends up being, whatever they end up calling that particular card, will now be either main or co-main, depending on the other fight that may or may not end up on that card. Be Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer for the 145-pound ladies belt. There are still a couple of fights that are in talks for that card. Fingers crossed. I don't want to get into them just yet because they are still rumors at this point, but there are some interesting potential matchups that could go on that card as well. But we know if that is the 250 card, it's going to be real fucking interesting, and we know at least the main or co-main is going to be Amanda and Felicia. So there is that.
That's a fight I'm looking forward to.
That might be one of the most exciting fights on the ladies' side that I've been legitimately looking forward to in a while now. I think it's going to be the toughest match Amanda's seen in a minute.
Oh yeah, yeah. Felicia Spencer's kind of crazy.
She really is,
and she's kind of awesome.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. I'm kind of stoked to see how that one shakes loose either way.
Yeah, they have named June 6th has also been named 250.
They are officially going to keep it 250? Okay, because that was the original rumor when there was talking about Valentina versus JoJo, and then obviously that's fallen out with Valentina having surgery now. So, yeah, looks like they are going to keep that as UFC 250 now, so we've at least got co-main, one of the two will be Amanda versus Felicia for that 145 ladies belt. So we've got good fights shaping up on the horizon already, folks. Another interesting thing announced just yesterday, actually. Same season that some of our favorite Bryce Mitchell, Bob Ross Pena, Matt Sales, several other gentlemen from that quote-unquote class of the Ultimate Fighter 27. Another one from that group, now catching some more headlines, Tyler Diamond, who was also a pretty good fighter from that season, just announced this week he has officially signed with the PFL. So whenever they get their fights back up and rolling, because they've already announced their 2020 season is suspended, so we're not sure how they're going to be able to come back because they do things in the PFL a little different than everybody else. But either way, congrats to Tyler Diamond. It's going to be very interesting to see what he's able to do over there. And, best of luck aiming for that $1 million for his division, because he's got a hell of a good shot to go after it, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a good move for him. Good move for him.
Yeah.
Stack up. It's a good shot. It's a good shot to stack up some wins and
Hell yeah, little experience
$1
under
million
the belt.
Good. If not, I mean, you're still getting your name out there. You
Yeah.
put on a couple good fights. All of a sudden, you start getting looked at again.
Exactly. And that's one thing that Dana always says, is that sometimes we get guys when they're just not ready and they don't understand that it's nothing personal. They just need some more fights. Going out and getting fights like that has proven Ben Saunders, Mike Brown. There's a half a dozen different guys you could name that, were in the UFC, just weren't at the right moment, went out, got a couple fights somewhere else. David Branch has done it 3 times now. Yeah. Sometimes you just need a couple fights somewhere else, and the UFC sees that when you go and do it, and they pick you back up. So this could be Tyler Diamond's time to go polish up a little bit, get back in when he's ready, or more ready than he was when they first tried to rush him in. So we'll see.
Like it.
I agree. I think it's going to be good for him. Next interesting little thing I want to talk about here. I try generally not to get too much into the verbal agreement matches or the rumored matches like I talked about earlier. I try and wait until things are at least announced between managements, or the UFC has announced that they are involved and it just has to be signed. It's agreed to on both parties. Things like that, things when we generally can rely on something being considered a fight. With the exception, for the most part, when a fighter says it themselves. This is one of those few exceptions here. We got word via Instagram yesterday that Mickey Gall has taken a short notice contract to fight on UFC Fight Night 172 next Saturday. He said that he was not allowed to release the name of the opponent, so I'm not sure if they have someone who just hasn't confirmed been dropped out yet, or if it's maybe a big name opponent that they're going to have to change a marquee for. But he has confirmed himself that he is back on official short notice camp, that he's supposed to be fighting next weekend down in Florida. I'm very excited to see how that's going to shake loose, because as of right now, I checked as soon as I saw this notification. None of the names they have set forth as of right now have been changed on that roster for the 16th so far.
The only interesting thing about that, like I said in our little group chat the other day, I just want to know who his executioner is. That dude's fucking garbage.
It's going to be interesting to see, because he's been working with the right people in his vast amount of time off that he's had recently. He's been working with a lot of the right folks, so it's going to be interesting to see, A, if this is not bullshit and he actually is going to fight next weekend, and B, if he's put any of this time that he's been working with some of these good names to actual absorption and taking on any of this knowledge that he's been passed on.
You can polish a turd all you want, but it's still a turd in the end.
What's he? Is he 170 or 185?
He
Mickey
generally
Gall.
fights 170. But that's the thing. He's one of those guys that walks around like around 200-ish. That could, if he had to, he could go to 205. If he didn't want to cut or if something happened, he could make 185. But he, quote-unquote, likes 170. Like a lot of those guys do.
It's supposed to be somebody on the card already?
That's kind of what he's hinting towards, is that he's pulled a last-minute replacement gig.
Okay. Maybe somebody turned up positive or something.
The right something.
Maybe he's going to fight Alistair Overeem.
Stranger things have happened.
Or maybe Angela Hill will take him out.
I mean, that would be a good way to send the message to Cejudo that he doesn't get to be the first intergender champion. Let Mickey Gall and Angela Hill go at it the night after Henry fights. Next event right there, be like, just rub his nose in it. I'd be okay with that. No. Another interesting pair of announcements, I guess it would be appropriate to call, for UFC 250 for June 6th, which is either going to be mained or co-mained by Amanda versus Felicia. 2 more fights they are adding to stack that card up because we did lose several fights off that card shortly after it was announced. 2 that they are putting on there to try and help build it back up that I think are going to be very interesting. The first one is a rebooking. This was already booked once and then scrapped due to the reunion tour. Now they're officially putting it back on the books, like Dana said he was going to with those fights. Augusto Sakai versus Blagoy Ivanov, going down on that 250 card. Extra interesting for me now that we have found out through this week's stunted UFC embedded that we got. Uh-oh. Did we lose internet? Or did I just lose Zoom?
And he's back.
We back.
That was weird.
I'm still going.
Zoom was the only thing that seemed to have hiccuped there.
Oh, wait a minute. I got a black screen right now.
That was when Zoom dumped out, so it should be coming back here. That's the delay.
Yeah. I see. Yep, we back.
And then, okay.
Good.
Yep.
So, I'm not sure what the hell that was. Apparently, Zoom hiccuped because OBS didn't blink. So hopefully everyone just went, what the fuck was that? By the time they said that, it looped back through the stream. We should be back. But what we were talking about before the hiccup was Augusto Sakai versus Blagoy Ivanov added to that UFC 250 card, which makes it very interesting because now we've gotten through the abridged or abbreviated version of the embedded series for 249. We have found out that for at least the last 2 months and change, Blagoy Ivanov has been a sparring and training partner of Francis Ngannou.
That's got to be a fun job.
Ivanov's only real lacking point in his game is his striking. He's an incredible sambo player. He's an incredible wrestler. He's an incredible grappler. He literally has the heart to show that you can't stop him in the cardio department. That big old booty hole that Derek Lewis kept trying to punch. Like, the only thing he was really lacking was striking. And if you look at Francis Ngannou, that's kind of literally his fucking strong suit. That dude can put a hole through a fucking brick wall by sneezing funny. Like, not to mention, can clearly take a punch. That's kind of an interesting training partner matchup there, if you think about it.
Will do him a lot of good, too, because that'll improve his stand-up. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He's working them kettlebells.
Or it might improve his fucking sitting down.
Right, yeah, no shit.
He might have gotten some real quality nap time in these last.
Yeah.
Very true. Could have strengthened that jaw muscle up a little bit. But the other matchup that they announced to go with that for UFC 250, right up Fresh's alley here in the little guy department, Jussier Formiga versus Alex Perez is added to that, which a lot of people are saying if they are keeping the flyweight department around, that's your number one contender fight right there.
That is the number one contender fight.
So that's going to be...
that's Perez's fight to lose, isn't it?
Yeah, it really fucking is. Like, Formiga, I love him, but he's on 17, looking at the flag, getting ready to start walking. Like, Perez is the new face of that fucking division. He's the young guy coming in. He's hungry. He's been tearing his way through. Like, this is Perez's shot to fuck up right here. And it's going to be on a night where there's a lot of fucking eyes paying attention.
those two are going to start punching each other as soon as the bell.
Yeah, man. That's
Not going
little
to-
guys
not
that are going to
to
put on
stop.
fireworks, man.
It's
Fireworks
not gonna stop.
the whole time.
Yeah, that's a good fight. That's a
Right?
really good fight.
That on top of fucking Blagoy, on top of fucking Amanda, like they're stacking 250 pretty nice. They seem to be
250's looking
shuffling
nice.
around these fights pretty good. They're stacking fight nights like a fight night looks, should look. They're getting the pay-per-views properly lined up in pay-per-view fashion, but still getting enough shit churned out.
Yeah, because when you see that pay-per-view that's happening this weekend, you kind of get scared, like, wow, did they blow their load here? Because
Yeah,
this
it's
is
a
ridiculous.
lot.
Yeah.
With the size of the roster in the UFC though, I mean, can you really blow your load? Like you can stack a card really really well and then turn
Right.
around and put something really really good on.
It's
2 weeks
awesome.
later.
Yeah.
Dropping three big huge cards right in a row. It can get a little worrying, but like I said, their roster's stacked enough that
Yeah.
if things start looking a little sketchy, old Dana can always pick up his Rolodex and flip his way through and find a name or two to throw onto a card.
Yeah.
Their stable of fighters is fucking massive. However, the only thing I worried about the blown load is you're gonna shoot all your big name fighters off right away, which they did a very good job of not doing. There's a lot of fucking fantastic fights this weekend, but it's not every big name you were expecting to see
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is 2 championship fights, but it is like probably the best division in the UFC, the 155, and then you got, another championship fight, which is awesome. It's an awesome fight, of course, but it's not like, Israel Adesanya and somebody else or something like that, or, 3 championship fights. It's the thing with having these fights every week. It's great for us. We have something to talk about, something to look forward to. But once you do that for a year or two and don't have a break, you start wearing a little thin with the fight nights and stuff.
And to be quite honest, this 2 month break that they've had is probably a good thing for not only the fans, because we get this treat of 3 cards in 7 days, but also for their stable of fighters who have been getting worn out, because for the last year they've been going every fucking week, and I think they've only missed like 1 week in there outside of the reunion tour that's going on.
Right.
So it's probably good everybody gets to heal up a little bit and not constantly fucking breaking their backs. Don't get me wrong. If they would have, they could. If they could have, they would have. But unfortunately, Mickey's got a big dick, and I'm not talking about golf.
Right. No. But speaking of UFC getting right back onto it, along with the June 6th 250 announcements that we've gotten this week, we also got the announcement of the headline for the May 23rd card, not this next Saturday, but the following Saturday after our 3 in a row here. The next event, they still haven't officially announced where it's going to be yet. It's still TBD right now, per Dana yesterday. But they've got the main event locked in. Officially. Tyron Woodley versus Gilbert Burns will be the main event for the May 23rd to be determined location event.
Way to pick your fight, Tyrone. Jesus Christ.
I mean, he kind of had a little spread laid out for him here, and he really did get to pick what fucking fight he wanted to take here.
That's great. I never imagined that.
I did not see Burns getting picked as his next one up either, but...
And he'll blame that on Dana, like, they're not giving me the fights. Get the fuck out
No,
of here.
he's not even blaming Dana. He's blaming Colby right now.
Yeah, he's saying that Colby bitched out, and that's why he's having to fight Gilbert, which...
Oh, Robbie Lawler would take that fight in a second, I bet.
I agree. And then...
A bunch of people would.
I was going to say, and to bust balls even further, you still got Leon Edwards, who will not shut up about how Tyron has run away since the fight got, quote-unquote, what do they call it? Postponed, I think? Or indefinitely suspended. And then now we've officially got confirmation that Tyron is now rebooked into a new fight with Gilbert Burns in 2 weeks. So, you know, we'll see how it shakes loose. It's going to be interesting either way to see where Woodley's at, both physically and mentally, once he gets back in the octagon, because we really haven't seen Woodley in peak Woodley form in a fucking minute now. And I think, at least from what he's been saying lately, he's done with the fucking rap. He's done with the fucking movies. He's done with the bullshit. He's been back in the gym. He's been legitimately training. We might get to see the Tyron that actually earned his way up to the top once upon a time come back. And I'm curious to see if that's the Tyron that we get, or if we get Tyquill, that asshole that we've been seeing for the last year and a half, fucking bitch and whine and not perform worth a shit. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out for him, I think.
Yeah, he better not call for a fucking title shot after that one.
I agree. He better earn his fucking way right up that ranking if he wants to even consider that being a
He
fucking
was
possibility.
talking about putting Israel out of Adesanya.
I know. It's well, he's been saying that he's gonna go up to middleweight eventually for a while now, and we know that Woodley is another one of those guys that walks around north of 200 fucking pounds, and then for fight night will step on, or for fight week will step on the scale at 170, and then back in the octagon that Saturday at 185, 190 fucking pounds. So
Yeah.
we know that he could easily make that middleweight limit, and he has been talking about eventually wanting to go up. He said he's got 4 more fights at welterweight he wants to make, and then he's going to go. So he's trying to, I think he's planting seeds for when he makes his move up.
You know, luckily for him, his background is wrestling, so he knows how to cut weight and do it in a fashion that he can manage. So if he wants to walk around north of 200 pounds, good on you, because it being a collegiate wrestler, you know how to fucking drop weight.
Yep.
Not always the safest, but you know how to do it and manage yourself in the process. So.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting because he basically has to win that fight. Especially if he wants to start doing anything, considering going towards 185, or even, you know, thinking about calling for another fucking title shot at 170. Like, you have to destroy. And that's Gilbert fucking Burns.
Yeah.
Good luck. That's a hard motherfucker to have to go in and destroy. So we'll see. We'll see. Non-fight related news, couple things here. First one, it's almost unavoidable at this point if you follow any MMA journalism. DC has basically taken this entire reunion tour to partner up with Ariel Helwani so that every week he can repeatedly and exhaustingly give another fucking reason why he thinks that Stipe is ducking him for the fucking fight for the trilogy match. Well, this week, Stipe finally came out and said something of his own. Maybe not everyone knows. The reason he hasn't been able to respond is because Stipe is a firefighter. Not like pretend, not like a volunteer, not like a put the hat on, get your pictures taken. Like, Stipe is a fucking living firefighter at not 1 but 2 firehouses in the Cleveland area. And we're in the middle of a global pandemic. He's been a little bit busy, to say the least. And on top of that, if he had time during this global pandemic that he wasn't busy being a firefighter at 2 fucking houses, the gyms in Ohio have been state mandate closed for the last 2 months and are closed by state mandate for the next month and a half. So he doesn't even have the option to train if he wanted to, if he wasn't a firefighter for 2 fucking houses in the middle of a global pandemic. Well, apparently, DC's crying and butt hurting has made its way up to the fucking top, because Dana issued a statement this week talking with Jim Rome this weekend that, without saying so directly, addressed the question of Jim Rome's asking, well, if it takes too long for Stipe to get through with his service as a firefighter and get back to training and be suitably ready for a fight with DC in quote-unquote reasonable time, because DC keeps suggesting the end of August and then it's going to be his last fight. Well, Stipe said, we can't do August. I have 0 training time right now, and it wouldn't be fair for me to defend a world championship with no preparation time. Just the same, it wouldn't be fair for me to have been training this entire time and call DC and say, hey, you've got 4 weeks and no time but those 4 weeks to prepare to try and take that world championship. It's only fair. It's a fucking title fight. You deserve a full camp if you're going to be able to get one. If you're the champ, you should be able to request that you get a full camp to defend your title. But DC's constantly crying. And so when Jim Rome asks Dana White about this, Dana says, you know, I understand that he's a firefighter, but the fight game waits for no one. And after a certain amount of time, we will have to go on with or without Stipe. That's stupid as shit on a whole different scale, in my opinion.
You know what the worst part of that is Jim Rome did not follow up with the question, well, what about your fucking 155er thing right now? Where is he?
Yeah, who's been out for more than a year and will be out, mandated by himself due to Ramadan and everything else going on, till the end of September, which will have put him out for, I think, a year, almost 2 years at this point.
He just announced this week that he's planning sometime in July he would like a fight.
Oh, so he's changed his tune.
He has changed his. You notice how all of a sudden that this fight, the 249 fight, is booked. It's locked in. Interim belts on the line. You know, Tony Ferguson's defending the real belt.
Yep.
As I think we're all agreeing.
Yep.
All of a sudden, then his tune changes, and he's aiming to get a fight in before Ramadan.
Yeah.
So that he can come in and defend his version of the belt.
No, yeah, knowing that whether it's Justin or Tony, whoever gets crowned interim after this weekend,
there's no way they can make.
There's no way they can make a good fight, healed, healthy, and camped fully to get that championship in July. No fucking way.
And it would be, you know, if it's the fight we think it's going to be, which, you know, hopefully there's some fireworks going on because you know, Yachi's too stupid to stop and Tony Ferguson wants to destroy.
Yeah.
You know, both of them could wind up on medical suspension.
Absolutely.
Like 6-month medical suspension, easy.
This could be a Felder Hooker situation where they're days of thundering through the fucking hospital and dueling wheelchairs, both all fucked up. It's possible.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I always find it ironic that how this dude does business. Like, you pick and choose your opponents. You duck the ones you don't want to fight because you know that Tony Ferguson's probably going to hurt you badly. Even if he loses, he's going to hurt you badly.
Yeah.
Well, there's another situation that came up though with him though, saying he wants to fight in July. His father just got fucking airmailed to a major hospital. Who is his head trainer? His father is in a fucking hospital with a heart condition currently.
Yep.
So, does that push your July date back? Well, I can't because I don't have a trainer. No, fuck you. You're the champ.
You said July. Yeah.
Find a different fucking. Find a different corner man. Find a different head coach.
Yep. It's gonna be real interesting to see how that
waits
goes.
for no one, a la
right.
Dana White.
That's right. It's gonna be really interesting to see what that double standard applies when it goes towards the next Golden Boy and not the guy who was previously on par to, you know, bury the fucking heavyweight title defense record, who currently holds it still. But, you know, don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to the guy with the 0 at the end of his record further below.
It's about whose DSLs are bigger. If you don't know what DSLs, that's dick sucking lips. So,
I thought it was just the internet.
That too.
I mean, he's got his head so far up Dana's ass right now, he can probably tell what he had for lunch last week, Tuesday.
Be amazed if that stupid hat's still white at the end of this. Oh, but one more non-fight-esque announcement, little piece of news here, and we'll jump into some little more interesting things to talk about. We got confirmation yesterday that Anderson Silva has officially underwent orthoscopic surgery on his knee and stem cell regenerative surgery as well to help speed up the recovery. Says that he should be perfectly back and healthy by the end of the year to execute his final 2 fights on his UFC contract sometime early next year. Everything looks like it was going just fine and dandy. He's got the best of the best working on him. Looks like we should have a new and improved Silva next year to see for his last 2 fights, which is scary unto itself.
Who do we stack him up against?
Yeah.
That's a show unto itself, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a whole topic.
Like Spider's coming back for 2 more fights. Who do you give him?
Yeah.
Maybe Tyrone Woodley keeps losing and moves up and fights Anderson Silva.
Or Anderson works out even harder now that he's got that new knee and he comes down and comes after Woodley. No, we absolutely could do an entire show on who could be the 2 unlucky victims of Anderson Silva's final 2 matches in the fucking UFC as well. But we know now that he has officially had his knee surgery. Everything seems to have went well. We're looking forward to physical therapy and recovery and seeing exactly how quickly the Spider gets back to casting webs out. But that being that is all of our news and recent events to go over. So if our late pupil here would like to take a moment and give us his thoughts on this upcoming weekend's UFC 249 predictions, I would like to give you a moment to do so.
Okay, I'll make this quick. I got it right here. Okay, so first of all, yeah, this card's crazy, right?
Right.
Even the prelim. I'm just going to do all of them real quick.
Go for it.
I got them all. I'll take Sam Alvey. I'll take Bryce Mitchell. I'll take. Oh, that one's hard. Okay, that one I can't even pick. Nico Price and Vicente Luque on an early prelim card is ridiculous.
Right?
That is ridiculous. Man, I like both them guys. I can't even pick either of them. I'll take Uriah Hall over Souza and Michelle Waterspoon over Esparza. And then this is a good one, too. Fabricio Verdum, this is his first fight back, right?
Yeah, it is. First one off suspension.
Man, that's a hard one.
Right?
I'll take Verdum. I'll take him. And then I'll take Donald Cerrone definitely over Anthony Pettis because Anthony Pettis is a fucking quitter.
Yep.
And I will take...
You don't have to call that one. You can skip that one. Go to the next one.
Yeah, we'll go to the next one. Man, I'll take Calvin Cater over Jeremy Stevens, even though Jeremy does need a win. And I do like Jeremy Stevens. And then I really hope Rosenstruck beats Francis Ngannou. I don't like Francis Ngannou. He's one of my least favorites.
This is the fight we talked about. I think we talked about that fight more than any other fight last week.
I think we did too.
Yeah.
So flipping out of control.
There's so much going on there. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't turn out to be I don't think it will be the Derek Lewis.
We talked about that too, that there's, even though we all know that we had that fucking moment and that realistically there shouldn't be any possibility in the fucking world Francis Ngannou lets another fight like that ever on his fucking resume. Because it happened once, we automatically have to have that little fucking thought in the back of your mind. There's always going to be the asterisk. We might get another one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, fuck. I don't even want to think like that, but it's a fucking real possibility, man. It really is.
I want to think that somebody goes into orbit.
Right?
Yeah. I feel that Francis Ngannou gets a lot of wins a little easily. I understand that they're heavyweights and that when these guys hit you, it hurts. I think a couple of the stoppages were a little premature on some of the fights. Not all of them, some of them. Like, obviously, Alistair Overeem, he was fucking done. I can't think of the fights that I'm thinking of. I think I mean, Cain Velasquez was it's debatable, but he was going to lose either way. It didn't matter. So then on to Dominic Cruz, Henry Cejudo. I hope Dominic Cruz wins. That's a hard, it's just with his injuries. But I was watching some Dominic Cruz fights. He's really fun to watch.
He's one of a kind, man. Yeah, he's a fucking unique individual if ever there was one.
Yeah, he just reminds me of Robert Whitaker, where he's a great fighter. But they're just tainted with them injuries so much that it scares you to pick.
They really are real similar too, and both in their footwork and their injury proneness, the two of them.
Yeah, and that might be a thing. Yeah, and then man, the Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje. Tony Ferguson, definitely when it was that short notice fight, 100%. This is a scary fight now. It just is a scary fight because Justin's got that fucking power. But I have to pick Tony Ferguson. It's so much more scary with Justin Gaethje having time with Trevor Whitman and stuff.
Right.
But I got to go with Ferguson.
I gotta say, I've been Team Ferguson, even when it was short notice. I was Team Ferguson, but then specifically something cemented it because I try and stay objective. We're in the fight world here, and anything's possible. At a moment's notice, anything could change a fight. So you have to be obtuse in your kind of beliefs when it comes to the predictions game that we play here. I try to be pretty objective and give Gaethje a reasonable account here because he's got that wrestling in his pocket that he just doesn't ever use, and if he did, it would be a problem for anyone. He's got legitimate power. He really does. He's also too tough to be a human being in some categories. You can literally beat him until he falls over and he will still be trying to swing an arm at you. But there was a thing that was said this past week. It was a little thing for a lot of people. It slid under a lot of fucking radars, but it hit me like a ton of fucking bricks, and I had to look into it, and the more I looked into it, the more it changed how I thought about this weekend's fight. Justin Gaethje was doing an interview with ESPN this week, and he told the interviewer, I hope Tony Ferguson breaks my nose this weekend because it's going to be violence, and I hope during that violence he breaks my nose so the UFC pays for me to get a new one. Weird, but an understandable thing for Justin Gaethje to have said. Then, the following day, Tony Ferguson is doing an interview with ESPN. And they asked him, we had a weird quote here from Justin yesterday. He said, and I quote, I hope Tony breaks my nose. What do you think of that? Kind of went just over my head in the moment, and then I thought about it some more. Tony's response was, he doesn't want me to hit him in the body.
Yeah.
If you think about that, and you go back and you watch Justin's interview, which I immediately did, there's a point where you see Justin kind of breathing a little hard, taking excessively long breaths before longer statements. There's a posture that he has. If you've ever had a cracked rib,
I have. I've had a broken and a cracked rib. Yeah.
Exactly. Cracked and broken are very similar. You know there's a posture, no matter which fucking rib it is. Breathing becomes a different exertion of energy. Talking becomes a different exertion of energy when you have to compensate for that rib. It changes your speaking and your breathing pattern. And then you go back and you watch that video of Justin. Tony might be onto something here. Justin might have gotten cracked in training and sparring, and he might have been subconsciously trying to play it out. Tony might have caught it. It makes sense.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like that Tony cut that weight. If anybody in the UFC's to do that, it's Tony Ferguson. I mean, he's crazy enough to do that. Weight again. But I don't like that. Yeah.
No, I agree.
But to go and fight Justin Gaethje after that. Now, Justin has to cut a lot of weight too. But
right. Well, but
yeah,
and that makes it
that
makes it that much more interesting though too, is that if Tony's right and Justin's got an issue with his ribs, A, that's going to affect his weight cut. Mm-hmm. B, that's going to affect him after the weight cut as well, because we all know if Tony goes to the body, Tony can fucking hurt you. Tony comes from weird angles with strong attacks. He can hurt you on a good day. If he knows you're weak, if he knows you fucked up a rib and you're hiding it.
Yeah, that's not good.
This
Especially
could be
since
real
Justin,
bad.
Yeah, people go to the body on Justin. That's what Eddie did, and then Dustin Poirier did it to him.
Every
and
time he's
that's
had a
just-
problem, they work the body on him and he starts to break down, but he keeps trying to go. Tony will shut your fucking body down on you, man.
Yeah, Justin's an interesting guy too, because you could tell like he has confidence, but he goes in there like, I'm probably gonna lose this.
yeah, he
And
does.
that's what's scary about him, is because he's like, I'm already gonna lose, so I'm just gonna die, whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's already accepting the loss, and then he's like, but I'm gonna try to win, but I accept that I'm probably gonna lose this one.
Yeah, he
But
does
we're
kind of go backwards that way. He really does.
Yeah, I think it was TJ said, too dumb to quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
He really is. Like he might be going in every time like, fucking, I don't lose. I got nothing to lose now.
Yep.
Yeah, he don't have no kids or anything. He's probably like, fuck it.
Yeah, single dude, fucking not giving a shit. But I just thought that's an interesting thing that a lot of people didn't even catch, and the few that did catch it didn't take it for what I thought it might have been. They kind of took it as a throwaway line. If you look just a little deeper than a surface conversation, a surface comment, there legitimately could be a whole new aspect to UFC 249 unfolding based on just that little exchange right there.
I got a good laugh out of the way he just twisted the question.
Immediately, yeah.
Not even talk about hitting him in the face. He's like, nope, I'm going straight to the body. I was like, huh. I thought that same way. Don't get me wrong. I laughed in the way that the way he answered it, but that tells you he was thinking on his feet, because he knows if he's saying something like that, there's something else going on, or he's being blatantly fucking obvious that he wants him to break his nose because he wants it fixed. He said he's had a problem with it for like 12 years.
Yeah.
Look, it could be a dumb meaning there, but it could mean don't hit me in the fucking body.
Right.
I mean, only one way to find out. That's to hit that motherfucker in the body.
And Tony's gonna, I promise.
I kind of hope like during the fight, like Tony's just like playing the xylophone on him, and then just surprises him, just pops him in the nose, and like just backs off. And he's like, "You're welcome."
Right? Yeah, and then goes right back. Which is a very Tony Ferguson thing to do as well, given the situation here. Just in the middle of it, just be like, "Oh yeah, bang, you're welcome," and then right back to the body.
Yep.
I bet you
he's gonna say you're welcome in the post-fight interview after he's won.
Right? Yeah, when he catches him with a spinning elbow or something in the fight.
Oh yeah, because you know that's coming at least once.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be one.
Yeah. I bet even if he gets punched in the face once, though, I bet you if he just goes to the doctor and be like, "Yeah, I think he broke my nose, or I have a deviated septum from this fight," I bet you they fix it anyway.
Right. At some point, since he mentioned it now, and he's fighting for the interim fucking belt on the marquee, first big pay-per-view back, I think there's a good chance we see Gaethje with a new nose regardless of the fight as well.
He's had what, 6 fights in the UFC now?
Yep.
He's got 7 bonuses.
6 fights, 7 bonuses. Yep.
Yeah, so the dude's going to be a show factor. Tony Ferguson's always a show factor, so it's going to be fucking fireworks. It's going to be a hell of a way to pop off their first card back in a couple of months.
Yeah.
Fuck yes, it will. But that being said, that will bring us into this particular episode's meat and potatoes, as it were, here. Next Wednesday's UFC Fight Night 171 coming up on May 13th. Where's my caveat to that? I will be doing the first What Did I Say show since the Backstreet Boys came to town this weekend to give you all the recap on the events that unfold on Saturday's 249. But now it is time for us to give our thoughts on Wednesday's 171 fight card. So it's an interesting lineup. 9 fights total, 4 prelims, 5 main. Not a huge card all in all, but interesting fights. Like I said earlier, it's still a fight night, so it's not a pay-per-view lineup like we've got coming up this Saturday, but still a very interesting lineup of fights nonetheless. Starting right at the top, kind of a loudest versus the newest in the small guy division as well over on the bantamweight side. Hunter Azure versus Brian Kelleher. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Kelleher has been very, very vocal lately. He has taken the Backstreet Boys tour time to get himself out there. He's done interviews with Ariel Helwani, Brett Okamoto, Mike Heck, Jose Youngs. He's done several different very, very public and very broadcast interviews since
he was on Kill Tony too.
Was he on Kill Tony as well?
Yeah. Yeah, he's been doing comedy.
See, Kelleher has been getting himself out there lately, being very vocal, very public. Hunter Azure, on the other hand, is kind of that next wave coming up of 135ers trying to start make a name for himself, and they're really not doing him any fucking favors. They're putting him on the opening fight of a fucking card, and they're putting him on against a firecracker like Brian Kelleher. Yeah. But I also have to say, there's something about Hunter Azure that is laser fucking focused on the craft that you don't really see in a lot of these newer up-and-coming guys. A lot of these guys, when you see them start to get their shot in the UFC, they're still so starstruck. They're still so shiny. There's so many things going on. They don't know where to pay attention. They're scatterbrained. Their attention is spread everywhere. And then you get those few, like a Super Sadiq, like what appears to be the Hunter Azure, that come in and they've got this fucking 1,000-yard stare with laser beam focused directly on the fucking prize. They don't care about the drama. They don't care about the fucking headlines. They don't care about playing the fucking game. They train, they focus, they learn, they adapt, and they get in the cage. There's something to be said for a kid who's got that kind of focus and that kind of intention early on in a career in a new breed of fighters in the UFC that we've been seeing. I like Kelleher. He's a skilled guy. He's a well-rounded guy, but he's also been a very distracted guy lately. And when you got a guy who's distracted against a guy who's coming in laser-focused, I got to lean towards the new kid this time.
Generically, I would be inclined to agree with you on that. Except for Kelleher's been around quite a bit longer. And we've seen what he can do. Don't get me wrong. There's been days where you go, where the fuck did Kelleher go? And
right.
Who's in his body right now taking this fight? But I don't think that he's overlooking his opponent right now. I think he's just playing up the media storm right now because right now that's what's available to them. And to be quite honest, a good way to get yourself out there, pull a bigger fan base, do those interviews, talk shit. Those things are going to help you. Now, going on the comedy side of the house, that's probably a fucking mistake because you're not talking fighting there. But hey, I guess whatever does it for you, I honestly think, though, Azure has I'll say a decent chance to win, but I can't give him the W in this situation purely because we've seen what Kelleher can do. Azure being so wet behind the ears now, it's a tall tree to climb for him at this point in his career. However, there is that chance he could be that Super Sadiq that you're saying, but I just don't see it in him. And maybe that's just me and the way I see him right now. This fight could change my mind depending on how he shows up and how he looks. But right now, I have to give the nod to Kelleher. And I don't think, to be honest, the way Kelleher has looked in his last couple of fights, he may or may not finish him. And I'm hard pressed to say one way or the other, because to be quite honest, I mean, he's won a couple via submission right away early in the fights, but we haven't seen him go deep into any fights in quite some time.
Right.
All of his fights have been early finishes, or he's or he loses. There's no other way around it. When he gets into deep water, he seems to get trouble. So I guess if he can keep him on his back, then that's it. Azure's over with. Azure better just keep it on the feet because that's going to be his best chance.
Yeah, I'm kind of agreeing with Golfty here. Like, Azure, I'm not sure I've seen enough out of him to really make up my mind about him. He's a young guy, he's undefeated. He has the undefeated record, like a lot of these guys coming in do. And then you throw a vet at him, and the vet proceeds to pick him apart.
Right.
So, and this is a wily bet that
This
they're
is
throwing
very
at
much,
him. And
yeah, this is very much one of those situations.
I mean, Kelleher can knock you out or he can submit you. Like he can go either way. Like it's
he's wiry as fuck.
Yeah, he's a good time to watch. I agree. I don't see this going probably past like the second. I don't think this is going past the second. And I mean, with Keller's jiu-jitsu, I mean, like all it's going to take is one time taking him down, and he works him a little bit. Next thing you know, he's got him tapping.
Right.
I'm going to go with the vet. I'm going with Keller. Yeah, Keller putting a little stain on Azure.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kelleher. I don't know other guy too much. Yeah, Kelleher was on Kill Tony. He does he's been doing comedy and he's been doing the guitar. But when he was on there, he was like, "I've been training every day. I'm itching for a fight. Like I want to get in there. I don't care who it is. Of course, I'd like somebody good, but whatever gets me on that island is good with me because I'm just itching for it." So
Fight Island,
like
baby.
yeah, he seems like an extremely likable guy, lots of talents. So yeah, I'm gonna go with him.
Interesting. It's gonna be a neat one to watch. See how it shakes out either way here.
I think it's gonna be fun.
I think it's gonna be a real
Keller
fun fight
could
as well.
certainly get knocked the fuck out too. So
Right. It's gonna be interesting. Some of these up and comers, man. There's that, and that's the thing. As much as I fucking hate that Dana keeps using the Contender Series to fucking meat grind out new talent for the UFC the wrong way, we also still have to remember that through that meat grinder came a Super Sadiq. There have been some diamonds make it through that shit machine and come out on the other side to gleam for us. So there's still always statistically going to be at least one or two more good ones coming through that shit show. And I'm hoping, from what I've seen at least so far, I think Mr. Azura might be one of those. But I've been wrong before, so we are definitely going to be watching that one to find out for sure.
Okay.
That should be the opening fight on our Combat Compatriot stream to find out just how it shakes loose either way.
Sugar Shane gets no love over here.
No, not at all. But the next one coming up after that is a kind of a complex ladies fight to play out here. Ironically, keeping it in the bantamweight division, this time just moving to the ladies' side of the house rather. An interesting matchup. Again, another one that was originally booked during the reunion tour, got pushed back due to all the craziness that has happened, is now getting rebooked as one of the fights taking place in our 43 fights in 8 days session here. This being Sajira Eubanks versus Sarah Morais. Now, this is one of those fights where both of those names, for even most fairly casual folks, there's something familiar about both of those names, but they're not quite like, oh, that was a champion, that was, that's a household name, but there's something familiar. And then you look back and it's because both of these ladies have had so much controversy in both of their short careers. Both of them from their out of ring shenanigans more than their in ring shenanigans. So this, I feel, is kind of the counterpoint to the opening fight. We have the opening fight being 135-pound, a pair of men with very contrasting styles, very interesting, both known for their in-ring, prowess. And then we follow it immediately up with another pair of 135-pounders, but this time it's ladies, and this time it's a pair of fighters who aren't known for their fighting necessarily, but for the shenanigans they get themselves tied up into outside of the fucking octagon. Now, That's not to say that neither one of these ladies have anything to offer. Obviously, we've said it time and time again. If you're in the UFC, you have to have some skill. That being said, if you go back and you watch part of the reason why Shazira Eubanks has had so much controversy through her career, and I use air quotes for those of you just listening, career, okay, I'll say it this way. I can't say for certain because I'm not her and I don't make her decisions. From an outsider's point of view, I am inclined to believe she favors more the drama that can be created as her name is attached to the UFC than she could get attention for the notoriety she would get if she used her fighting ability as a fighter in the UFC. If you're picking up what I'm putting down here. I don't think Sarge is really in charge, as her Instagram would leave you to believe. I think Sarah Rice might have this here because despite them both being just face palm inducing questionable additions to this card, I think Sarah Rice has a little bit more in the fight aspect of it than Eubanks does here. So I'm giving her the nod in this situation.
I tend to agree. So I would give this to Sarah Moras too, but like this fight, they announced it, and it's like, why are we getting that fight?
Yeah.
Like, is this like both of them? I think both of them lost 2 fights in a row at this point, right?
Yep.
Like, is this a cut fight? Like,
I kind of hope so because the last time we heard from Shazira Eubanks before now really was her trying to call out a shot at Shevchenko coming off of a loss herself. And everybody was like, what?
You don't deserve it.
Yeah.
You don't deserve it. Like, no, as much fun as it would be to watch the 30 seconds that fight would take.
Yeah.
You don't deserve it. You gotta pile some wins up to, even if it's a short change division, you still have to pile a couple of wins up.
Do something
before you get a shot and before you get knocked the fuck out. But yeah, I mean, Sarah Moras has a little bit more skill in the ring, and you know, that's where I'm gonna go. I mean, there's always the puncher's chance, but I mean, I don't even think Eubanks is that good of a puncher. Have a puncher's chance.
That's kind of the way I feel as well.
Yeah, that's like I saw this fight pop up, and I think they were gonna put it on 249, weren't they?
Yeah, originally they were going to put it on the prelims for 249, and I think the crowd was like, "Don't you fucking dare!"
That doesn't even deserve that fight doesn't even deserve early prelims. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, no disrespect to the 2 ladies, but I mean, neither of you deserve to be on that.
Yeah.
To be on the prelims of a pay-per-view.
I think honestly,
like prelims of a 171. That's a more
I feel it's way more justified. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I got. Sarah Moras, kicking ass. Got it. Sarge is not in charge.
All I can say on this is Sarah had better win because if she does, she's gonna get cut. Right now, she's like this weird oddity on the UFC roster that actually has a losing record. She has more losses than she does wins.
No shit.
Sarah Eubanks.
She's like 4 and.
I have to play devil's advocate here for Sarah Eubanks as much as I really don't want to.
4 and 4.
She's lost her last 2 fights. However, both of the fighters she fought are obviously way better than her. Aspen Ladd, and God, I hate to say that about Aspen Ladd, but she's obviously way better.
Still, yeah.
And she lost to Beth Correa.
Yeah. That's
both
fitting.
Way better fighters than fucking she is. By a long shot. Although she does have 1 win on her record that I guess is kind of a nod to her, but it was in 2018 against Roxanne Modafferi. And Modafferi, obviously not a slouch, but still a better fighter than her, in my opinion. However, Sarah did win her last fight. They both fought in September of last year.
Right.
Sarah still looked like shit when she won. Granted, she won via KO, air quotes here, but either way, this I have to give the nod to Sarah, even though I don't think she deserves it. Question mark. Um, and it's the only reason I'll give her the nod is because she needs it if she wants to stay. Otherwise, I think they need to cut her because that'll put her two fights under 500.
Eubanks is 4-4 right now, right? That's what it says here.
She's 5-4 currently.
Eubanks?
Yeah,
Really?
professional career wise. I don't know about in the UFC, but professional career wise, she is.
Yeah.
Whereas professional career for Sarah, 5-6.
Okay.
She's a weird oddity that you don't normally.
I have 6-5 here. What is going on? I have different numbers than you do. Weird. Anyway, I am dyslexic, but no, this is 6-5. I don't know. All right. Either way, I was gonna pick Eubanks before you guys started talking about it. You guys started waving me the other way, but I'm gonna stick with Eubanks because somebody's got to stick with her. Jesus.
You don't want to help in a cheesecake?
No. You know what I do? I go with who looks like a dude more.
And that's
Eubanks.
the Surge definitely is a little bit more manly.
Yeah. She's got dude, if a girl's arms are more defined than mine, I'm like, oh, she's gonna win.
Yeah.
I'm showing here Eubanks is 4-4, Sarah Morais is 6-5.
That's what I got, yeah.
Oh, they must have them dyslexically backwards then, right? Oh,
But, I mean, they're both coming off 2 losses in a row at this point. So I mean, they're both.
Sarah won her last.
They're both in danger. They're both.
Sarah might have
not having
her
a
last
job.
one. I could check that. That's what.
I think they probably both realize that.
Wait a minute. Wait. Oh, this was canceled in April. Okay, I was gonna say it might be canceled, but no, that was canceled in April. Duh.
Yeah.
Just a weird fight.
Yes, Sarah won her last one against Liana Jojo.
Oh, did she? I thought she was 2 down now too.
Yeah, so. But she 3 losses before that.
Yeah. I mean, either way, to be honest, this is the best place for this fight. The only place that would be better is if they had an early prelim.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be honest, look, we knew that we were going to get some really stacked cards. This is one of those points where they had to throw some fluff in there somewhere just to make it feel like it was normal UFC attire that we're looking.
Yeah, there's not another lady fight on the card either.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. But moving on from there to another interesting matchup on the prelims for this 171 card. Michael Johnson versus Thiago Moises. This is kind of a strange matchup. Michael Johnson has not had the greatest career in the UFC, but then you look across the octagon from him, and Thiago Moises has had 3 fights in the UFC and has gone 3 decisions, 1 in 2. This very well could be another matchup that they are quite literally making, because whoever loses is getting fucking walking papers. This kind of seems to be somewhat of a trend we're seeing in some of these matchups, as well as some of the ones that we'll talk about next week for the 172 Fight Night card as well. Some of these matchups, while maybe not the most exciting matchup overall, if you look at them in the grander scheme of things scenario, it looks like the UFC is kind of subtly doing a little bit of house cleaning and kind of letting the trash sweep itself out, as it were. This very much feels like another one of those fights. A guy that's 1 in 2 with 3 decisions in 3 fights against a guy who just can't really catch a fucking break to save his life. Every time it starts to look like we see Michael Johnson looking good, whoever he's in there with turns the corner and beats the shit out of him or submits him. Like, we've seen flashes of greatness in both of these guys, but nothing consistent enough to give you really any confidence in either one of them. And it really does kind of feel fitting that this might be literally a do or die match for their career in the UFC.
Yeah.
That being said, based on the video that we have of the two of these gentlemen, I am more inclined to believe that Michael Johnson, despite having maybe not the greatest run, still has more potential within him, maybe untapped, than Thiago Moises does. And that doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence unto itself. It's more along the lines of, if we have to pick one of the two in this particular situation, I'm more likely think Michael Johnson is able to pull off a decision victory that this is likely to be than Thiago Moises, who's 1-2 in his 3 decision attempts.
I'm inclined to agree with you there, because the last time we saw Michael Johnson look good steadily was after he came out of the Ultimate Fighter.
Yep.
He had a good run there, and then all of a sudden,
for a little bit, he was hot.
He was hot for a good 3, 4, 5 fights in a row, and then all of a sudden, just fucking the train derailed, and he couldn't get that fucker back on the tracks again. Nope. He's been the epitome of 1 step forward and 2 steps back. He'll win one fight and look fucking fantastic. You're like, okay, he's back to the guy we know coming off of the Ultimate Fighter. Then fucking just shit show. But on the other side of that, Thiago, he hasn't even been around long enough to fucking warrant any sort of grace period where I can say, you know what, give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I have to give the benefit of the doubt to Michael Johnson in this case, just because we've seen the Menace do things that were fucking fantastic, but he just seems to have not been able to get his shit together. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here, give him the nod. But I don't think this is going to be a very explosive fight at all. I think this is going to be kind of lackluster.
Well, I mean, if there's one thing that Michael Johnson's shown is that he's vulnerable to submissions.
True. Very true.
And I mean, Thiago Moises is no slouch in tapping fuckers out. So I'm gonna go with Thiago. I'm pulling the heel. I took your fucking hat, TJ. I took your fucking hat in this one. Yeah, I mean, it's either that or it's going to be a really lackluster fight and go to decision. One of the two. And if it goes to decision, Michael Johnson's going to win this fight. Like, if Thiago doesn't take advantage of submissions, this is going to be. I mean, it could be fun watching them try and slug each other. But then it'll go to decision. And if it's on its feet, if it's on the feet and it's going to decision, then Michael Johnson's going to win this fight. Like, that's the type of fight that he's really good at wearing people out and then, you know, pouring it on the last couple rounds. I mean, that's, you know, he can do it. I just don't know that he makes it past a couple rounds. If Thiago knows what's good for him, he knows that he's been tapped out a lot.
Yeah, get his ass on the ground.
Get him to the ground, and you've got him where you want him. So that's my thoughts on where this is going to go. I think unless I just keep picturing Michael Johnson just like popping him and keeping him in a fucking distance for the first couple rounds, though.
I will say that is one of the few things that you can reliably count on with Michael Johnson. He does have legitimately a very quick, very clean, and unreadable, snappy left jab. He hit several of the greats with it on their way up to the top.
Yeah. So, I mean, this does feel like a housekeeping matchup. But I'm going the heel. I'm going Thiago. I think Thiago's going to tap him out in the second, first or second. I think he's just shown. I think Michael Johnson's just shown way too much vulnerability to even a half decent jiu-jitsu game.
Yeah.
You know, just because I was curious, since you're playing the heel, I did a quick search here on Google. You type in Michael Johnson, the only thing that comes up is the Olympic fucking sprinter. So you're all in the right playing the heel on this one. I should have taken it. I should have fucking taken it.
No, you got to double down. I'm taking Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, first round knockout.
Either that or he
He's
runs
healing a
away.
heel.
You think
He's
he's got
healing
that?
the
You
heel
think?
move.
I was gonna say, you think he's got that much power?
I mean, he did. He did. He certainly used to.
He's not, I mean, he's at this point. I mean, he's wearing people down later in the matches and getting TKOs. That's
He almost knocked out Justin Gaethje a little bit
true.
ago.
Yeah.
I mean, but everybody almost knocks Justin Gaethje out, and then for some reason he just goes full fucking zombie.
Actually, let's be honest. Justin Gaethje almost knocks out Justin Gaethje every fight.
More
Like
often
the
than not.
fucking Terminator, he just keeps on coming.
You go into the corner, you think it's over, and he's just T1000ing back up. Yeah, I mean, this is like if you look at Thiago, like he loses decisions. He doesn't get knocked out. He doesn't get tapped. He loses decisions. And if it goes to decision, he's gonna fucking lose.
Right.
But if he gets that modicum, or Thiago Moises, if he gets even a modicum of his jiu-jitsu going, it's his fight. That's my thoughts anyway.
Interesting.
I'm done. I'm done talking about it. Talked way too much about this fucking fight.
It's all right. It's all right. It'd be interesting to see how it plays out, and then we can take the hindsight reel and see how it played out.
Yeah.
But that will bring us to the quote-unquote premier prelim fight for this particular event. Heavyweight division, very odd matchup on face value. Andrei Arlovsky versus Felipe Lenz. I have to say, I kind of feel a little bit bad here. As of last night, because some of you know, some of you don't, I do my picks the night before the show so I can get the most up-to-date information possible on a Wednesday night last minute, because I don't like to try and make picks before the show. I'm in a whole different headspace there, so I try and do these the night before the show. As of last night, Felipe Lenz still had that profile picture of the character not unlocked in the fucking Mortal Kombat game, grayed out black screen. And the fucked up thing is, even though it might not be a household name quite yet, Felipe Lenz is the guy who won the 2018 heavyweight division of the PFL and took that $1 million home. This is not a new guy to the sport. This is not a new guy to combat sports. He's just new to the UFC. And he's coming in on the second show back from the floodgates opening up on the quote-unquote premier prelim fight against Andrei Arlovsky, a very notable name, and they still don't even have the poor guy's fucking profile picture up on the website. This is a weird matchup. We've got Arlovsky, who has been trying so desperately to fucking cling to the last shreds of his chance to be relevant here, and he really is. At this point, he is that fucking cat on the motivational poster just trying to hang in there. But Felipe Lenz is another representation of that next generation of upcoming fighters. He's not the one-trick pony that we're used to in the guys from the class of Arlovsky's era here. He's one of these new guys that he can do a little bit of everything, and he's got cardio for fucking days. He's a heavyweight that can hold his own for 5 fucking rounds no matter where the fight goes. And while it can be said that Arlovsky is known for having crazy power at any point in a fight, that power has been notably starting to wane over the last couple years of his career. He is standing on 18 staring at the fucking flag. He's on the green. This ride is almost fucking over. This might be the moment where, again, they're setting up a house cleaning match. They got a new guy coming into the division who's shiny. He's got it all, and you got that old dog who's clinging, and you just need somebody to take Yeller behind the fucking shed and do what needs to be done. That might be Felipe Lenz. He might be the euthanasia we've been so cautiously, melancholy wanting but not wanting for someone of Orlovsky's caliber. He was a great pioneer of the sport, but at the same time, when's the last time Orlovsky had a highlight reel for something that he did notably huge? It's been a minute. It's been a solid minute.
Well, I didn't even want to talk about this fight, to be quite honest, because as much as it pains me to see Arlovsky right now, what he did early in his career, decades ago.
Yeah, literally.
That's
literally.
Right, decades. He's been around for a long fucking time. He was fantastic. He's pioneered. He's an ex-champion on multiple different fucking areas between UFC and others, but at this point, this is one of those times like we're always saying, you got to know when to fucking hang him up, dude. At this point, all he is he's the epitome of a rock'em sock'em robot. How many punches is he going to take before he goes to sleep? Before his head goes, zzz? That's it. At this point, I hate to say this, but I hope he gets slept in the first round so they will cut his contract and just be done. Because you know what? I don't want to see him fight anymore. I don't want to see him brain damaged. That's it. Just go off, ride into the sunset. Know you did great things for this world.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to combat sports. Go fucking coach somewhere, dude.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Be a striking coach somewhere.
Don't get me wrong. Look, we talk a lot about a lot of these old fighters going and coaching. I know there's not room for all of them. I get that. And a lot of them don't want to. I mean, fuck. Monster just did an interview with Cowboy this last week. Asked him if he wanted to coach. He said, fuck no.
Yeah, I don't want zero interest in it. Yeah.
Zero interest in it. And that's fine. But you got guys like this who their heart's still in the game. Go fucking coach. Do that. You're still in it then. If you want to spar with the guys you're training, feel free.
Yeah.
But don't fucking take any more contracts where people are literally coming for your fucking head. At least in sparring, you can say, hey, we're only going 60% or something. And that's fine. But fuck, right now, at 60%, he'd probably still get knocked the fuck out. His jaw is fucking glass. He's literally the first guy you fight on Punch-Out.
Glass
right now. He can't take a shot anymore. And it's a sad thing to see because he's a great fucking fighter, but his time has passed and he hasn't realized it yet. So I don't even want to talk about it. I can't give him a nod. This one's going Linz all the way.
Technically, he is the first guy that he's playing in Punch-Out, though. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Felipe Lenz, like if you go and look at his history and catch a couple of the PFL videos, like the dude earned his nickname. Like his nickname is Monstro.
He earned that with stripes.
And this is not a question of when. Or not a question of if he wins. This is a question of when he wins and how he wins.
Yeah.
Because he can tap you out or he can knock you the fuck out. I'm kind of hoping to see a submission. I don't want to see Arlovsky get hit in the head anymore.
I'd be okay with that. A nice clean submission where Andre has to fucking tap instead of seeing him get fucking brain damage. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, this is not a question of if Monstro wins. This is a question of when. And I hope it's in the first. I hope it's early. I hope he taps him out clean. And
gets him in and out.
And I mean, with a dude like Arlovsky, I mean, like you know he respects the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And he took this fight because he respects him. And I hope he respects him enough not to kill him.
So I guess it comes to a point where you start rooting for the likable guy to lose when he gets old enough so that he gets out quicker.
Kind of.
I guess that's I guess that's what's going on here because I like Arlovsky.
Everybody does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I didn't even know anything about the other guy until you said that thing about the PFL thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, he earned his way to this fight for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess we'll see how he measures up.
And
'Cause
it's
I don't think Arlovsky's. He's still got some in him. He
Yeah.
really does. He never looks like absolutely terrible. He
Well,
never looks. He
that's
looks
the
like
thing,
the first
though.
guy at Punch Out.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is that he always looks decent, but he's always looking decent against a fresh crop of up and comers.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, and don't get me wrong, I fucking love Andrei Arlovsky. Those fucking teeth in the mouth guard have been something that got me fucking pumped for fights for literally almost 20 fucking years now. No exaggeration. I have fucking huge respect for Andrei Arlovsky. But at the same time, he's, for at least the last 4 or 5 years, been consistently staying barely on par with the entry-level newcomers.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree 100%. He absolutely still has something in him, but at the same time, if that something that he has in him is barely enough to keep up with the new guys, you can't keep going like that, man. You don't want to be that gatekeeper that just can't quit.
Yeah.
But I think you do make a good point. It's getting to the point, especially with Arlovsky here. Like, we all love him. Nobody wants to see him get fucking hurt, but you gotta... Something has to make that light go off in his head so that he will recognize that the time might be near. And I hope, at least, like Fresh said, that a nice submission that forces him to fucking realize that he's been outclassed without taking brain damage might be a good indicator. I think that's a good idea.
I would love to see that, but I don't think that's what we're gonna see.
I don't either, and that's kind of what I'm afraid
Monster's going
of.
to try and fucking club him to death. That's entirely
think-
I
possible.
don't think he's gonna have to club him to death. I think he's only gonna have to touch him once, and that's gonna be it.
Yeah, I feel like Mongo is going to give one good kapow and the horse is falling over. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Fresh is right and we get a nice submission here, but I'm inclined to
I
agree.
mean, he could do it. Monstro
Yeah.
could totally do
Absolutely he can.
Let's make a little history lesson here out of this. If history has taught us anything, if you put in this case, a Dane versus a Saxon 1-on-1, the Dane is gonna fucking win. Right now, Arlovsky is not the Dane anymore. He's been converted.
There we go. Okay, so from there, that will bring us into the main card, the meat and potatoes section of the meat and potatoes segment. That is this meat and potatoes portion of the show here. So this is one they are opening this card up with that we have talked about, I think 5 times now since the Backstreet Boys situation first introduced itself rudely to our fucking society. This fight was originally scheduled first, I believe, at the end of last year. And then something happened and it had to be rescheduled. And then something happened again and it had to be rescheduled. And then it was rescheduled for the original UFC 249 back in April. And then that whole thing got put off. And then there were talks about it coming up for the end of July for the fight that's, or the card that's going to end July coming into August. And then that got scrapped. And now here we've got it coming up. They're opening the card with it Wednesday night. Carl Robertson versus Marvin Vettori. This is a little bit more complex, but very much still in the same kind of theme of the other matches from this evening. Carl Robertson is another one of those newer, up-and-comer, bright prospect guys coming into the UFC. And then on the other side, we've got Marvin Vettori, the Italian stallion who, like a lot of these guys, came into the UFC with a fucking bright, hot train of momentum behind him. And we saw some flashes of fucking pure greatness right away. And then we started to see some fizzle and we started to see cracks and holes in the game and things started to get exposed. And as much as he might want to still be great, he just lost that steam that he had built up. And I'm not saying Marvin Vettori is done, but I'm saying at this point he has gone from potential new star to lackluster potential soup can in the matter of like 2 years flat. When he first came out, Marvin Vettori made a fucking splash, coming to be Italy's new representative in the fucking UFC, and he has really just gotten meh. He is, like I said, had some flashes of greatness, but then very, very much overwhelmed those flashes of greatness with long stretches of mediocrity. There's again, this is one of those that I think Vittori has that puncher's chance that's always there in a fight. But for my money, this is Carl Robertson's fight to lose. I feel like he is more well-rounded. He is more adaptable. He's quicker on his feet. He's got a better in-the-moment fight process than Vittori does. We've seen Vittori get stumped in the moment, and you just see him stutter, and the fucking code's not running right. Robertson's so quick on his fucking feet. I think this is one of those situations where we've got a newer guy coming in against a guy who's a little more seasoned, a guy who's been there but never really kind of took off. I think this is Robertson's fight to lose.
I'm inclined to agree. However, there's something to be said about Marvin Vettori. Even though he's been on a fucking steady decline, he's a scary individual. I think he fell off the horse and hasn't figured out how to get back on. And if this is the fight where he gets back on that horse, that's a scary fucking situation because he did come in like a fucking firecracker. Granted, a problem with the firecracker is sometimes you blow that one, the rest of the pack goes off. If he's already blown the rest of the pack off, he's fucked. But the rest of that pack hasn't gone off yet? Shit. That's a scary individual. But Carl Robertson, on the other hand, coming young and he's fucking hungry. From what we've seen out of him already, he's a hungry individual. So
he reminds me of a young Neil Magny.
He does have that same sort of resemblance to him.
Right? A little bit. A little bit.
And don't get me wrong, last year he had a rough start to his year. I mean, he did have to fight Glover Teixeira to start off his year last year. And
yeah, I was going to say, as a young guy coming in, that's a hard fucking uphill battle to get thrown right away.
Especially as that was when Glover was just starting to come back around. So that was Glover's tune-up fight, air quotes there. Because to be honest, that's all that was for Glover. That was a tune-up in which he probably dominated him. If I remember correctly, he got a fucking... I think he submitted him in the first round, if I remember correctly.
I believe you're correct.
Either way, I think that this could possibly be because of how hungry Carl is, and with Marvin being on kind of the ropes here, I think this could be a low-key possible fight of the night.
Interesting.
Yeah. I actually kind of agree. I mean, Vittori's won his last two fights. Not like it. I mean, they were decisions, and they were
right.
Not the best fights, but he did win his last two fights.
Right. Very true.
And early on, I mean, he showed he could be a fucking killer. He had some killer instinct. He's got it in him, but Carl Robertson's shown a lot of evolution of his game in the last couple of fights, and he's a hungry young fella. This one really could go either way in my brain. I'm not writing Vittori off.
There's one other thing I forgot about Vittori. He does have one feather in his cap, albeit a loss. He did take Adesanya to decision.
He did. He was the first guy to ever take Adesanya to decision in the UFC.
And that was 2 years ago-ish, somewhere in there, I think.
Not long ago.
His second, I think it was Izzy's second fight or third fight in the UFC.
Don't get me wrong, Izzy has gotten much better since then. However, he did manage to take him to decision, so that's definitely a feather in his cap, albeit a loss, still a feather.
True, very true.
I mean, there's always an off chance Vittori submits him too. Vittori's a sneaky bastard.
This is true. He is sneaky as fuck.
Yeah.
That's tough for me. That's tough for me to call. That's tough for me to call. Um, is the young guy, and like if they stay on their feet, it goes to decision. That's Robertson's game. Like he could. I mean, he won his last fight with submission too, which I think was kind of out of nowhere. So it's a part of his game he was working on. He can kind of do it all.
Yeah, he really
Go,
can.
I don't want. I'm talking myself out of it both ways. I'm going Vittori. I'm going Vittori. I think he's been around. He's got a couple wins under his belt. I think he's gonna keep rolling. I think he's turning a corner.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. Well, this fight is an A and B conversation. I'm gonna see my way out of it. So, what fight's next, Meter?
Okay. So with that, then that will bring us into a very, very interesting fight. Probably, for my money, the potential dark horse fight on Wednesday night's card. Now, every fight from here out is a crazy. The whole main card really on Wednesday night is fucking craziness. But I think for my money, this is my dark horse most slept on fight of the card for Wednesday night. For my money, the meanest mullet in the UFC, barely, and I mean of the minutest, most small, calculable margins, beating out the Combat Wombat, because that motherfucker is spectacular. But just ever so slightly ahead of the Wombat, the baddest mullet in the UFC, in my opinion, Ricky Simone, taking on the Taz Mexican Devil, Ray Borg, back at 135 again. I have to say, I feel like the last time we saw Ray Borg at 135, there was so much going on there, it wasn't a legitimate chance to see what he was capable of. Normally, I would say that kind of performance, you should stick in the division that you're used to. This, I feel, is one of the rare exceptions to that rule, and that we know Ray Borg is a bigger dude and cuts down to get to 25. We've seen training footage of him at 35. Unfortunately, the only time we've seen him at 35 in the octagon did not look spectacular, to say the least. I have a feeling, though, based on, and there was a metric fuck ton of other things going on in Ray Borg's life during that particular point in time. I'm not going to get into it because that could be a whole separate episode onto itself as well, but Ray Borg has been through some shit in the last year and a half, 2 years, and my fucking hat goes off to him as a man and a fellow human being for weathering it and coming out on the other side with his fucking head on his shoulders. And I think this is the opportunity that we're going to get to see what Ray Borg really has at 135 pounds. And I think the great part about that is they have picked another guy who I feel got a fucking raw shake the last time we saw him out at 135 pounds, because I understand it's an unpopular opinion and I give this many fucks about it. I don't agree with the stoppage of Uriah against Ricky Simone in any way, shape, or form. I don't give a fuck if anyone agrees with me or not. I don't agree with that fucking stoppage, and I think it actually made Ricky Simone look way worse than it made Uriah look good because of the incompetent stoppage, in my opinion. I feel like Ricky Simone had done enough up to that point. He should have earned a little bit more of a chance than the stoppage that he got, and I think he understands that he kind of got a little bit of that opportunity taken away as well. So I feel like Ricky Simone, at the same side that Ray Borg, has that to prove. He's got that weight on his shoulders that he has to show. They know he has better than what he has shown, and I think that's going to get both of these guys to put on a fucking spectacular show. And both of these guys are unbelievably well-rounded. They're both great strikers. They're both great wrestlers. They're both great grapplers. They both have incredible submission skills. They both have cardio that you can't chain to a submarine to slow down. These two gentlemen are going to go out there and go fucking crazy. This is either going to end in a fast submission or a fast knockout, but this is not going to be a boring fight. I legitimately like both of these guys so much and think that they both have such a good talent level. I can't make a pick. I cannot pick this fight one way or the other. I think there's legitimately 50-50 chance on both sides. I can't pick one.
Who's taking this? Who's taking?
I was gonna let you have it because this is your little
let me
guy,
have
man.
it? Well, I mean, there's part of me that immediately goes, Ray Borg's going to win this because Ricky Simon put himself in a position where you could get taken out by Uriah Faber at this fucking point. That must have been the one fight this decade that I didn't watch Uriah Faber, and Uriah Faber getting fucking walloped. Like you shouldn't ever get yourself in a position where Uriah Faber in this day and age can culminate even if it's bullshit, ref stoppage. But I mean, there's always the puncher's chance, right? Before he got taken out by Uriah, I mean, he was on what, 8-9 fight win streak?
I think he was on a 9
Ricky
fight streak
Simon?
before then. Yeah.
I mean, and with a bullshit loss come back, I mean, he's gonna be swinging for the fences. Any shot that's open, he's gonna take it. This is gonna be a great fight. I have a hard time saying Ricky Simon isn't gonna win this. I have a hard time saying that this isn't his fight, because it in my mind it seems like this is his fight. As much as I like Ray Borg.
Right.
Much as I like Ray Borg, I just don't know that. Even with that loss, I mean, he's still got so much momentum behind him. Still got so much momentum because he was just on an unholy tear, and he's looking to get back on it. So
Oh yeah.
had to sit by and watch Uriah Faber get a title shot and all sorts of
Right.
awfulness. So yeah, he's gonna have a temper on him, I think, but has Mexican Devil. He's a rough one to root against.
Right.
Anyway, Simon, go ahead, TJ. Go ahead and rip my opinion apart.
Well, I wasn't going to rip your opinion apart because I do like Ricky Simon. That dude, he balls to the walls every fight he's in.
Fuck yeah.
To be honest, he reminds me of a smaller Clay Guida when it comes to how much fucking forward pressure and just go he puts in.
I could see that if he had like a full head of hair instead of just the mullet.
Well, yeah. Let's think about it this way: you take all of this away from Clay Guida on the sides.
Yeah, no,
bam,
that's
you
true.
have Ricky Simon just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that's kind of true. It really is. That's a good point.
They have the same just go forward mentality, non-stop thing. Oh, don't get me wrong. Ray Borg is no slouch in that department. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then again, Borg hasn't looked like himself since he came back.
Right.
And I don't know if it's because of the extended time off that he had, or if maybe he's still trying to find his groove again. But Ray Borg, in my opinion, still better than Henry Cejudo. Fuck that guy. But this one, it's a fucking hard one to pick for me because, to be honest, I may have said the last fight is low-key fight of the night possibility. I think this one is fight of the night. Because these two are going to go balls to the walls, and I know it. I fucking know it. Simone would have it no other way, and Ray Borg, unless he wants to get his brains bashed in, he's going to have to match force with force here because that's just the kind of fight that he's in for. Ray Borg booming back to 135 again here. That's where I'm a little off kilter because I want to say, yeah, it's a good move. But on the other hand, I'm going, why? Is it because is it where he's feeling comfortable right now? I mean, comfort is not always your friend when it comes to fighting.
True.
Sometimes you have to go where you know the water is the right depth for you. Especially, I'm saying, look, we know he can swim, but at this point, I have a hard time picking against Borg because I've seen what he can do. I know what Simone can do, but this is just for me. This is a coin flip on this fight. It's hard for me to fucking pick one over the other. If I have to make a pick, though, I'm gonna say Simone purely because I think he's gonna want it more. I really do because I haven't seen that same want out of Borg since he's been back in his last 2 fights that we expect out of him.
Right.
It seems as though that extended layoff that he had, that killed a lot of things. Albeit, whatever was going on in his personal life at the time, those other 2 fights, look, all that shit aside, if he's gotten past that stuff, I would give it to him, but I don't know that he has yet. Until he proves it, I can't give him the benefit of the doubt against somebody of the caliber of Ricky Simone. I just can't do it. Right now, I think Ricky Simone is the better man right now. Oh, had you asked me this 3 years ago, I said, fuck no!
I could see that.
Yeah. Ricky Simone is my pick. Ray Borg better make fucking weight, too. And Ricky Simone has a 6-inch reach advantage on top of his forward pressure and all that. 6-inch. Which is probably why Ray Borg doesn't want to be didn't start off in 135.
Right. Yeah, because Ray is a tiny guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that size and the reach advantage could definitely make a difference too, especially if they stay on the feet and it comes down to a striking battle, because Simone's good at using his reach while he puts that forward pressure on you too. Could be interesting. Could be very interesting. But moving along from there to the people's co-main event, as it were, the next 2 co-main. This is going to be... It's going to be a fight that I definitely want to watch, but for a couple of maybe not the most conventional reasons. I'm talking here about Alexander Hernandez against Drew Dober. Now, the reason this fight doesn't necessarily get me conventionally excited, as it were, even though it is a great fight, it's a great pair of fighters matched up. The reason that I'm unconventionally excited about this fight is because this is one of those stereotypical matchups that we've kind of come to hate at this point. This is 2 guys who, while on one side of the coin are both of the new generation and are very much not one-trick ponies, these guys are both very much cut from the same cloth of that new generation, in that these two's, both of their primary skills, and backgrounds are predominantly wrestling based. Not so much grappling, not so much submission, but straight wrestling based. The problem traditionally when we see those matchups is that when you see 2 guys whose default is wrestling get in a cage, it more often than not is a striking battle. And the problem is that generally when you got 2 guys who have spent most of their careers working on their wrestling, neither one of them are generally great at striking. We've seen several fights, even just recently, that have been great fucking proof in the pudding for that statistic. This is one of those that I feel is going to be similar to that, but maybe to a lesser degree. More so because we have seen Alexander Hernandez, specifically in his match against Cowboy, even though he has that wrestling in his back pocket, he's just a stiff fighter. He doesn't fight very loose. He's not very fluid in his movements. He's very robot-like in his rigidity, in his stances, and his attacks, and his movements. Whereas you've got Drew Dober, who kind of looks realistically like an old-school Stretch Armstrong doll. kind of short, but he's got kind of long arms, and like he gets way longer than he should be for a guy his height when he starts to wrap around you, and he almost gets that Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic, like Stretch Armstrong going way farther than his limbs should be when he wraps around you, but he's also very fluid on his feet. We've seen him have good footwork. We've seen him slide and be very out of the pocket and elusive in his striking. And I think if we get this pair of wrestlers comes down to a striking match, I just think that Drew Dober's got better striking. He's too fluid. Alexander Hernandez is just too stiff. I think at this point, really, it's Dober's fight to lose.
I'm 100% behind you on this one for two reasons. One, watching how badly a overhyped Alex the Great Hernandez was against one Cowboy Cerrone and got literally picked to pieces. He looked like he was standing still with what Cowboy did to him. On the other side of this, Marvin Vittori, or Drew Dober, excuse me. I'm fucking talking about Vittori. Fuck me. But anyhow,
Vittori's fighting twice.
no, with Dober here, I think what everybody's forgetting, his last two fights been fucking knockouts in the first round inside of 2 minutes. Both of his last two fights. This dude has some ridiculous fucking knockout power. He's one of those strange wrestlers where he's got that. And like you said, his fluidity on his feet, much better than Alexander. Alexander, he's a stick in the fucking mud when it comes to how he's fighting standing up. Alex's best fucking bet, try to get this to the ground. That's his best bet. Is if it stays on his feet, he's getting slept. Because Vittori, or fucking, I keep saying Vittori and I mean Dober. Fuck me. It's obviously past my bedtime. I need to go to fucking bed. Fucking Dober's gonna put him to sleep. And I think he puts him to sleep inside of one round. I think he gets a third straight first round knockout. I really do. Because you know what? On the chair that he's on with these knockout victories, it's gonna be a third one.
I could see that. That's a real possibility. I agree.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the crowd on this one. This is Dober's fight to lose. I mean, I could talk myself out of it, as I've been doing with every fight tonight. I could talk myself out of it because Hernandez is knocking some people the fuck out too. So could go either way. No, it can't. Drew Dober's a better fighter in this. Alexander the Great Hernandez, at some point, the game might click in his head, and he could turn into something. He's a very solid young prospect.
Yep.
He's only lost twice. It's gonna be three. Come next Wednesday, though. So it's my thought. You know, if some fights you just look at and you're like, you know that it's a good fight on paper. It makes sense, but one guy outclasses the other guy just enough to where it's not really all. It could be fun.
Right.
Well, I mean, all these fights are gonna be fun.
Right.
All these fights are gonna be fun. These two will probably. I mean, they're wrestlers, so they're gonna try and punch each other to death. That's how this fight's gonna go. And Drew Dober's he's better at punching people to death. So that's why he's gonna win.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with what I thought before we started. I'm gonna go Alexander Hernandez. I remember when he fought Cowboy. I was real scared for Cowboy. I was actually surprised Cowboy won. It's because he was on a little streak there, and he looked like a good upcoming guy. And Cowboy did make him look really bad, but he was on a 8-fight win streak.
Yep.
Only 2 of them were in the UFC. But yeah, I'm gonna stick. It is gonna be a good fight. Dober's he's a really good fighter himself. It could be anywhere. This could be fight of the night, actually.
There's some very good potential in this match as well. Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I'll stick with Hernandez.
Interesting. Okay.
I think he
Interesting.
could get the knockout. Actually, I just don't.
Either of them could. They both
Yeah,
have
think
power.
they both do legitimately have the power as well. Absolutely.
He is definitely the stiffer guy, but sometimes that's just that's the foundation to good, to learning boxing. I
Right.
shouldn't say to good boxing, but the learning boxing, is
Right.
to just start off with that. So I guess we'll see. It's
It's
going to be
going
a
to be
fun
interesting.
fight.
Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see how that shakes loose. It's definitely not going to be boring. That's for sure. Those two matching up is got firework potential all over it. But that being said, that will bring us to a big, beautiful pile of gravy coated mashed potatoes on our side dish that is the co-main event on this particular card. What a beautiful plate of potatoes we've got for a fucking change. We have got one hell of a co-main event for you folks coming up this Wednesday. Ben Rothwell introducing the debut at heavyweight of Ovent St. Preux.
OSP?
OSP is officially making the move to heavyweight. And not only is he officially moving to heavyweight, they're putting Big Ben Rothwell in his path to see if he wants to stay or not. Talk about sending one of the gnarliest looking fucking trolls to the gate to try and scare away the intruders of the fucking division. Good God. They do not want anyone to have any kind of easy prospect moving up in any fucking division in the UFC. Least of all, the fucking heavyweight division. Not that Ben Rothwell is the fucking champion or he's, number 2, whatever. Ben Rothwell is a hard fucking guy. Period. He's a tough dude. He's a reliable dude. And he's a fucking tank. You got a guy like OSP, though, who we have to wonder, why is he coming to heavyweight now? He had great success early on at 205, but we've seen him steadily falling off at 205. So is he moving to heavyweight because he thinks he's got a better chance against the heavyweights? Is he moving to heavyweight because he's having trouble cutting to 205? Is he moving to heavyweight because he doesn't want to cut and he's one of those in-betweeners that walks around at like 230-ish? We just don't know. The one thing I will say that we do know is that OSP is not, like some other people, moving up because his chin has come into question in the division that he's used to. Rocco Weidman. This is one of those situations where we still see someone who's semi-viable, in my opinion, in their division. Maybe not top prospect, but still very much viable in their division, moving up for unknown reasons. If OSP can bring all of his tricks and his technique from 205 up to heavyweight with more power to add on to his respectable striking prowess on top of everything else, this could become a very interesting match very quickly, because Ben Rothwell is one of those strikers that he is an oh shit caliber striker. When he hits you, you know immediately. And if he gets even the slightest caliber good quality hit on you, you might be going to bed. But OSP is sneaky as shit. Not only is he a decent striker, he's a good wrestler, and he has submissions for fucking days. Von Flue choke. Google OSP Von Flue choke when this is over. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, can he do that to a 280-pound man in Ben Rothwell? I don't know. This is one of those weird matchups where both guys can do pretty much everything, and there's no real way to tell where it's going to go. If it stays on the feet, Ben hits hard, but OSP hits quick. If it goes to the ground, OSP is sneaky, but Ben is heavy. OSP's got submissions, but Ben's got strong joints and is a very good defensive submission practitioner. It's a very interesting matchup, and unfortunately, with no ground to base our assumption off of OSP in the heavyweight division. We just have to go off what we know. That being said, what we know is that OSP is a sneaky motherfucker. I like Ben Rothwell, but unless OSP has lost a step and going up a division, I think this is going to be St. Preux all over the place. I don't think we see a judge's decision come into play. I think OSP ends this in 1.
So I'll jump in real quick. I think this is OSP's fight. I was looking at this is one of the facts that kind of surprised me when I was doing research. I didn't realize that OSP used to fight at heavyweight prior to jumping up to the major promotions.
Yeah, he's been there.
So he's been here. This is not a new game for him. And OSP is one of those dudes that can take you out when you least expect it. Like, he's got sneaky power. He's got sneaky ass submissions. Yeah, I have a tough time. I think this is kind of his fight to lose. I mean, Rothwell's coming off a win, right?
Yeah, they're both coming off a win.
Yeah, they're both coming off wins. Oh, that's right. That's when he kept hitting him.
Prior to that, they both came off of 2 losses.
Yeah, he was. Was he dick kicking him? Is that what Rothwell was doing? I remember him hitting the dude in the nuts a bunch of times.
Yeah, it might have been. I don't.
I forget what I just remember the last fight was like, is he hitting him in the groin again? I don't think that was his fault either. The dude was kind of playing it up. But I mean, Rothwell's a little bit more straightforward. He's not nearly as tricky, but he's got the puncher's chance. I mean, obviously a heavyweight's got the puncher's chance. If he rocks OSP, Rothwell could take this. I just think OSP is sneakier. I think he's got a little bit more well-rounded game. And there ain't no shame in losing to OSP. There ain't no shame in losing to OSP. So I'm gonna take OSP on this one.
And yes, just for the record, sorry, just to interject real quick, the last fight, there was a pair of dick kicks because we were looking at it as it was possibly going to be another Matt Mitrione situation.
Yeah.
Almost was, but not quite, so. But yes, you're correct.
I remember the dude was playing it up way more than it was. Yeah, I remember.
Yep.
No, I can tell you one thing you will not see in this fight, and it's going to be a Von Flue choke. That will not happen.
Right.
Yeah. Look, Ben Rothwell's been around the block long enough that he knows what OSP can do if you grab his head and hold on to it, and you don't actually have a choke sunk in the right position. He knows. He's not stupid. As I said a little bit ago, both these guys had 2 consecutive losses in their respective divisions. Twice when OSP was at light heavyweight, of course, twice for Ben Rothwell. Then they both won their last fights. Okay, so they're about a horse and piece on this. However, what I'm really questioning here is what's causing OSP to come to heavyweight. There's got to be an underlying thing there somewhere.
Yep. Which
makes me question: is this the right move? And you're not putting them up against fucking Joe Schmo heavyweight.
Yeah, ain't no gimme fight.
No, they're putting him up against a big wall. And
when did this fight get signed?
To be quite honest, I think this is a play for the UFC to go, all right, you want to do this? You're going to have to do something major, and that's take out Big Ben Rothwell. Look, that's a tall fucking order for anybody. Don't get me wrong. Rothwell's had his fair share of fucking just ugly fights. We saw it in his first 2 back coming off of fucking his long layoff. His last fight, he looked decent, minus the groin kick thing. But you know what? Unfortunately, that happens in fights. Right. We know that. And you know what? My hat's off to him for not apologizing for it in the post-fight either. Because you know what? He's right. That shit happens. We just move on. OSP, on the other hand, he's been on a steady decline. I think I have this strange feeling that because he wasn't doing well at 205, and yeah, he squeaked one out in his last one. I think this has a sneaking suspicion of maybe if I change my weight class, I'll do better. But because we've seen his career kind of spiral, like it, and not in a good way. It's he hasn't been able to really string more than one victory together. When I say string one victory together, that's all we've seen.
Right.
It's been a while since we've seen him on a tear. Don't get me wrong. OSP was fuck. There was a hot minute where you thought he was going to be the fucking king of the 205,
Hell yeah.
or at least put up a much better fight against Jones than what he actually did. But whatever. Um, I'm just putting it out there. I I have to side with Big Ben on this one. I don't think OSP gets it done. I think there's a doubt there because of what was going on at 205 and him not doing well. I don't think he's got the right mindset to come up to heavyweight and defeat somebody at Ben Rothwell. I just don't think it. I think there's going to be a mental block there. I'm not saying he doesn't have it in him because we've seen what he can do, but I have a feeling this is a mental thing on why he went to 205. I don't think it has anything to do with making weight because he always made weight. He never missed weight, so I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's something mentally going on with I can't be in 205 because there's a lot of fucking killers in 205 right now. Well, guess what? You're getting thrown to a fucking killer here in Ben Rothwell as well. Yeah.
From the looks of I've been kind of looking at the way this fight was put together. This looks like kind of a short notice fight, so that may be why he's going to why he's going heavysheavait.
Yeah, this was just announced 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, this looks like a little bit of a short notice fight because he was going to fight Ion Cutelaba.
Ion Cutelaba, yep.
Cutelaba in April, and that fight got canceled due to the Backstreet Boys. So this may have been a case where Dana knew somebody had a decent camp going and reached out and said, hey, can you do a fight for this card? And OSP said, I probably can't cut the weight, but I can still do the fight. So that's in my mind, that's kind of what I think is happening. He's fought at heavyweight before. He had a good record coming in, obviously. You don't get into the UFC without having a good record.
So real quick here, we're getting ready to lose Mr. Devine. So before you head out, you got 2 picks here. You got co-main and main. Give us your 2 real quick on your way out.
So that's a rough one. With the Ben Rothwell looked good the last fight, right?
Yep,
he did.
Man, that's a hard one, but I think I have to pick
KO by dick kick.
Peru. I just have to pick Open St. Peru just because it's really just down to the physical shape of the both guys. That's pretty much just it. And then Anthony Smith, he's just a legend killer. Coming off of the hardest fight in his life at his house.
Right. Yeah, no shit. No shit.
But guys, have a good night, and thanks for having me. Sorry I couldn't stay longer. I literally just sat down, ate a brownie, and my eyes started falling asleep.
Happens when I eat brownies too, I understand.
Fair enough.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, everybody.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching. I'm out.
Take it easy, Mr. Devine. So, with that being said, that will bring us to the lovely tomahawk steak that is the meat in the meat and potatoes portion of the meat and potatoes segment in the meat and potatoes part of this crazy fucking show. And this is a crazy fucking main event. The co-main event was fucking crazy enough, and then the main event on Wednesday night's card is just as fucking crazy. Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Glover Teixeira, the legend versus a legend killer. This is literally just a teed up shot for Anthony Smith to skyrocket back up to the fucking peak of greatness that he was once at. You got to remember, the only thing we have seen bad out of Anthony Smith in his whole fucking career in the UFC so far was taking John Jones to serious contention trouble. Granted, Jones won like he has so many times in very, very increasingly closer fights. Uh-oh, hang on. Uno momento. My batteries just died. I got a backup headset here. Literally give me 3 seconds. Okay, we should. Okay, Zoom grabbed it. 1 second, I gotta change. OBS has to change now. I think. Nope, wrong one. 1 second. There we go. That should be the one. I believe when you guys talk. That was not the right one. Okay. Was it this one? Okay, let's try that again. There we go. We should be good now.
Whoa,
Okay.
now we're good.
Okay, we're good. Sorry, folks. Battery died in the other headset. OBS had to switch over. Just took a second. I apologize about that. But, so, Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira. The Lionheart legend killer himself versus one of the last remaining legends at 205, really.
Mm-hmm.
This, in my opinion, is quite literally the definition of a teed up shot for Anthony Smith to rocket right back to the greatness that we saw him at before. You can't take away from Glover Teixeira's legacy. That being said, this isn't the same Glover today that we saw in the days that he made himself famous with. Glover is still one of the nicest fucking guys in the UFC. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet who punches people for a fucking living. But, like we said earlier, he's standing on the green at 18. He's looking at the flag. The putt's 4 feet from the fucking hole. We're there. Anthony Smith is quite literally a legend killer. I think this is just perfectly poised for Smith to come in, coming off of a detrimental loss to himself, get back on the horse and look spectacular against a guy who, in the past, people looking spectacular against have gone to do great things. I like Glover, but I can't see him taking this match. And more than that, Anthony needs this. And with what's gone on recently, the situation in his house, just him being able to sit up in the commentator's booth and articulately break down so many other fights since he was just in there, I think everything is just adding up to see a great moment for Anthony Smith, and I really hope that's how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, we know Anthony Smith has had the better warm-up fight.
Yeah, no shit.
We know for a fact. Like he had to hold a meth or a PCP guy down for hours.
For hours,
apparently.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Glover's he is such a nice dude. And there's always the puncher's chance. Always is. He's crafty, he's old. But I think this is just a setup for Anthony Smith. He's been doing commentary. He's a fairly notable guy in the UFC at this point, and setting him up with a fight that I think it's going to go down as a very fun fight between the two. Because Glover, I mean, he's no slouch even at 40 years old. He's no slouch.
Absolutely,
he's not like this. This isn't a gimme fight for Anthony Smith. Like
no.
He's gonna get everything that Glover has left. I just don't think that Glover has enough left in the tank to take somebody like Anthony Smith out. So,
Agreed.
Anthony Smith, it's all on you, man. I hope that PCP warm up was worth it, man.
No shit.
Somebody's got to play the heel here, so it's going to be.
I will not hold a grudge of you playing heel for Glover Teixeira.
Not at all.
With everything that Anthony Smith has had going on recently, this is why I have to give the nod to Glover. His focus has not been the fight. I can guarantee you that. His focus has been his family, the safety and well-being of their household, the security of their household. Don't get me wrong. When he had his interview post-fight, he said, yes, I know I have a fight coming. And I have to focus on that. When it's time to leave, I have to leave here. Look, I don't care who the fuck you are, how badass of a fucking human being you are. And I'm talking directly about Anthony Smith. He is a badass motherfucker. When your territory gets infringed on, somebody breaks into your home, that takes all of your badassery away. I don't care what you did in the moment. You did the right thing. You beat the brakes off of this guy, even though you couldn't put him away because he was on some sort of crazy fucking PCP, fucking crystal meth, fucking whatever the hell it was.
This weed doesn't taste right, man.
But
Right.
this that puts in your mind when you're leaving your home, your wife, your child, your mother-in-law that lives with you. When that happens, you go away, your thoughts aren't going to be 100% on that fight. You're still going to be going back. Are they okay? Know he said in the interview he's going to have friends come and stay with them with loaded weapons.
Still.
Still.
That's always going to be right there.
That's going to be in the back of your mind because at that point, they've taken your peace of mind. Your peace of mind goes. Anytime, if you've ever had anything broken into in your entire life that's yours by a criminal, your thoughts are going to stray towards that. Fuck, I had my car broken into at one point when I was living in California. Nothing was bad stolen out of there. Didn't have a lot, but it still takes that security factor away of, oh fuck.
Yep.
And as bad as a man as I know Anthony Smith is, I can't foresee him being 100% in the fight because of that. Now, I do not, if he loses this, I do not want to see him say it's because my head wasn't in it. Just take the loss on the chin, move along.
Right.
We know. You don't have to explain it to us if you lose. There's no reason for that. I get it. So I have to give the nod to Glover. Plus, on Glover's behalf, he fought 3 times last year. All 3 victories.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a resurgence in his career, albeit a little late in age. He has shown that he can still hang with these young cats and put them away.
Very true. Very true.
Sure enough.
So, I mean, I think if I remember correctly, one of them went to decision, but he finished the other 2, one via submission, and I forget what the other one was. But I know he won 3 times last year, between January and I think his last fight was in like October or something, I think.
How's that for a present? You won 3 times. Congratulations. Here's Anthony Smith.
Yeah. Shit, right?
Let me
backhanded compliment.
There we go. All right. So his last 3 fights last year, January, Roberson, which we have on the undercard here.
Uh-huh.
He beat Ian Kuntalaba in April.
Uh-huh.
And then Nikita Krylov in September. And
Right.
Nikita Krylov has been a bad motherfucker as of late.
That's right, because we thought Krylov was going to walk right through him, too.
Yeah, he took him to decision, but he did put away Robertson with a submission in the first round. He put away fucking Kuntalaba in the second round with submission. And then Krylov he took to decision and won. Krylov's been a bad motherfucker. Krylov beat OSP.
I was just going to say, and Krylov beat the shit out of OSP. Yeah, real bad.
So I'm just saying, I think this one is Glover's to lose. I don't think it's Anthony's to lose. As much as I would like to give the benefit of the doubt. However, there is this strange thing that if Anthony has enough rage built up in him from what happened to him and his family, it could be a very bad night for Glover. But I don't think that's going to be the case because he's going to be worried about his family. And with 100% understandability, until that kind of fades a little bit, I don't think he's going to be the same Anthony Lionheart we've seen.
I definitely agree with that.
I think he's enough of a professional where he can turn it off.
In this situation, I'm actually more inclined to agree with what TJ's talking about here, and I think for one reason more than most in that, and I guarantee this is not why or how it fell out this way on purpose, but the fact that we've got Anthony Smith fighting in the main event on Wednesday night, having recently just had a legitimately traumatic experience that will inevitably be in the back of his mind on the main event card Wednesday night, and then having Walt Harris turn around and be the main event next Saturday, having recently just had, obviously not the same, but again, a legitimately severely traumatic experience happen to him that will undoubtedly be in the back of his mind as well. it almost feels like they're giving Anthony Smith a chance to set the precedent and show how you can use that as motivation, or how it can get in your head and just destroy the best game plan you've had laid out. I kind of feel like this is Anthony Smith's moment to set the stage on how these two nights are going to end, because again, not the same situation by any stretch of the imagination, but still, both gentlemen going through some seriously real life shit since their last time in the cage, and having to overcome that, as well as both of them having time off. It's kind of a very similar theme here. I kind of hope the best for both of them. I really do.
I do. To be honest, I like both of them equally when it comes to how they fight and types of people they are in general. So I mean, it's a no-win pick for me, but I still have to give the nod to Teixeira.
I can understand that. I can understand. Like I said, this is not an easy fight. This is not a gimme fight by any stretch of the imagination. The co-main and main on this card are both fucking ridiculous. So I'm very excited to see how they shake loose.
I think it's gonna be one of the better fight nights we've had in a while.
I absolutely agree. I think, and again, I'm hesitant to say this because we still have to see how everything shakes out, but I will say at this point, given the information we have as of right now, I'm inclined to believe that Wednesday night's card is going to be better than the following Saturday night's card. I think 71 might be better than 72 as of right now.
Yeah.
But that's what we've got for 71. So before we get out of here, I do want to take a moment to thank these fine folks for coming along and taking part in these shenanigans. If you're looking for Ned Devine, onlyfans.com/n.devine83. He's also on Instagram, I hear. But aside from that, if someone needs to know how to find a good starting point for an Uncle Chael scavenger hunt up in the Northwest, how could they find Fresh 03 after this show?
YouTube.com/Fresh03. We are narrowing in. We're narrowing in. Unfortunately, with me being a working stiff and being a mandatory worker, I do not get as much time as I would like to go seek out Uncle Chael. But I think we're closing in. I think we've got. I think last week we were within a 40-mile radius. I think this week we are down to 25-mile radius. So we are knocking. We are knocking on barn doors. We're knocking on grain silo doors. We will figure this out, and we will give Uncle Chael a hug for being the hero. Not that we needed, but the hero that we deserved.
That's right.
That's right. The Backstreet Boys reunion. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for your time, sir. Always much appreciated. And now, I don't know if it's possible, but say for example's sake, someone still hasn't realized the best place to get cheese curds and an ass-whooped conversation in the Green Bay area. How would one go about getting a hold of you after the show, TJ?
Wednesday night, YouTube, 9:30 Central Time. Hit me up on the Instagrams, Golf T Vapes on the both of them. I'm here, ready to talk shit, and I will stuff cheese curds down your throat relentlessly.
There you go. What more could you ask for? Thank you very much for your time, sir. Always appreciated. And now, before we get into the closing spiel, I do want to take just a moment to remind anyone who has made it this far into the show. First off, thank you for making it into the show this far. I know sometimes we can get off the fucking rails. If you've made it this far into the show, obviously you're enjoying what we do here. So I would ask politely, maybe give us a thumbs up. If we brought to you some point of views that you hadn't had before, maybe made a little light bulb go off for you, subscribe to the show. We do this every week. If we just gave you the enlightening moment you've been searching for, share an episode of the show. We're trying to grow this damn thing. On the other side of that coin, if we just seem like a couple dipshits sitting in front of cameras talking but not knowing what the fuck we're actually saying, give us a thumbs down. We earned it. We won't dispute it. That being said, this coming Saturday is UFC 249. So this coming Sunday, I will be doing a, what did I say? Recap show to give you all of the highlights and the juicy moments that you may have missed Saturday night. And then next Wednesday, before the next I'm No Joe podcast, next Wednesday night, May 13th, UFC 171, we will be doing a Combat Compatriot show here on the I'm No Joe channel, starting with prelims, ideally at 5 p.m., running the gamut. Should the card go full length, we may even be dual casting on multiple channels here. Things are in the works. But regardless of how Wednesday night goes, we will be back next Thursday night for the next episode of the I'm No Joe podcasting. We will bring you all of the juicy details that you may have missed from Wednesday night. So that being said, I am going to take this chance to go ahead and call it all for now. So until next time, remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. And my audio just died again, so I'm going to have to take just a second to fix this again. There we go. Is it back? Okay, now it's back. So, there we go. Okay, so, fucking all the headphones messing up. Don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Unless at this point, you still think that Fight Island just coincidentally became available. In that case...
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kicks were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.